Hi there, my name's Al. Today, in this video, we're going to look at some familiar decks that might get some buffs in the next special set that's coming. It's going to be Black Bolt and White Flare. It's going to be exciting. We're going to go through stuff and see. Hopefully, the decks that you enjoy playing might be on here, and you can kind of look at some of the cards that are coming, and this will be a way to kind of understand what is coming for the future and what you could help, try and think about building with. And so it's really helpful in that sense of seeing and showing examples of how these new cards will interact with decks that are already made and everything. So if we are going to look at things, let's go ahead and look. This is going to be fun. So first off, we're going to look at Genesect EX. He is a 220 HP metal Pokemon. Look at this art, by the way. It's so incredible. He's just like storming. Looks like he's storming a lab. I don't know. Something awesome. Looks cool. This set's going to be so good for artwork. Anyway, Metal Signal is his ability. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 Metal Evolution Pokemon. Reveal them and put them into your hand and then shuffle your deck. Note that it says Metal Evolution Pokemon. Note that because it says 2 Metal Evolution Pokemon, you can grab EXs with this too. And for that reason, we're going to see our first deck being Archaludon EX. But let's see. Alright, support for Metal Pokemon and Metal decks with Genesect's ability to grab 2 Evolution Pokemon is a huge win for our Steel guys, our friends like this bridge. The bridge is going to be really helpful in doing this. Archaludon is massive. He's got 300 HP, Metal type, Assemble Alloy. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve on your Pokemon during your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic Metal Energy cards from your discard pile to your Metal Pokemon in any way you like. Now, this is great for the deck. This is great energy acceleration, and we've seen Archaludon in the meta before, of course, and I think a lot of players do find this deck to be really fun and they enjoy it. And so hopefully this will make things run smoother, because you did have to consider making sure to get your Archaludon to progress further, and him as an attacker is going to be using Metal Defender for 220. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon has no weakness. That is something of the Steel type, which is nice. Genesect's move also lets you take less damage. It has Protect Charge for 150 damage, but during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. So that is the theming that they do with the Steel type Pokemon, which I think is pretty fun. Definitely fits with their Steel typing. Archaludon is the big bridge, and so it used to be popular a bit more, I think, but it's kind of been falling off a bit, and maybe its power is not doing as well, but this could be helpful. So here is an example deck list we have here if you wanted to build. As you can see, Genesect slots into this very nicely, very easily as just a one-of card. And this is kind of what Genesect is expected to be. It doesn't need to be, on its own. It's a great support card. And so having also the consistency of Revavroom, I can understand. So if we break down this deck a bit more, we can see our main attackers, of course, but then we can see our Revavroom, and then here's our supporters. But Revavroom is a pretty good draw engine. It acts as a draw engine because its ability lets you discard 1 energy card and then draw until you have 6 cards in hand, which is really nice to refuel the hand, of course. This helps against disruption, all that, And it also allows for the Metal Energy to get into the discard pile, which you do want to do for its perfect, little ability that you can then use to power up your Metal type Pokemon. Really cool. You can use Relicanth to use the attack of Duraludon, which can be punishing if your Archaludon was not KO'd, because again, Archaludon has a good amount of HP. Archaludon is a huge Pokemon, and it's likely to get damage counters on it because it can't immediately get one-shot. Of course, it certainly can, but it's a high hurdle for many decks to do, and to do consistently, so that's why you might consider a Relicanth, and you might consider Raging Hammer being an attack that is viable, perhaps. Metal, colorless, Raging Hammer, 80 plus. This attack does 10 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon, so that is why it is in the deck, it looks like. Utilizing also, we saw here 2 supporter cards of Black Belt's Training. Not often seen, I want to say, but I can understand it. Utilizing Black Belt's Training helps with adding damage, and it's specific to EX Pokemon. So that means that Duraludon's move, hitting for 220 as it was normally, which is kind of underwhelming, which is perhaps partly why the deck was not like hugely meta, but if we can get some additional damage off and hit for 260, we could be hitting more significant numbers, and that can help a lot. During this turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do 40 more damage to your opponent's active EX. That's cool, that's good to note. Genesect, although one piece, and although I do lump it in as a support Pokemon for the most part, it can still attack. And if you're using Black Belt's training, if you're using it in the deck anyway, then you might consider knowing that if you can hit it 190 damage, adding on to that, then you can knock out some other support Pokemon or little Pokemon that you might be seeing on the field, like Clefairy EX, Squawkabilly EX, Mew EX, and so on. So making Genesect a sneaky little option in a pinch is also a consideration as well in this deck. So I would keep an eye out. If you see Archaludon, I wouldn't be surprised if you could expect a Genesect, and although getting a Genesect attack off might not always happen, it can, because Assemble Alloy's ability also provides metal energy to any of your metal Pokemon, so it doesn't specify, which is good. So it's gonna be potentially a staple in our metal decks. Alright, now on to my personal beloved. I recently did a video about an update on Chien Pao and how it can potentially get some buffs in Destined Rivals, but I like this deck, and it's seeing a small cult resurgence almost, I want to say, which is very exciting because I adore this guy still, and I hope to see him in the meta again. Maybe it just keeps getting better. Alright, but the updated Chien Pao from Destined Rivals has Petrol. So Petrol has become a staple. Petrol is like an engine for getting things. It's really handy. It's great. But he has the ability to search your deck for a trainer card. You reveal it and you put it in your hand, then shuffle your deck. Note that when it says trainer card, that is not just counting items, that's also counting tools and supporter cards. So it's very versatile, of course. And so being able to grab just what you need when you need it is nice, and you are running like 3 receivers to make sure that you find your Petrels, because they are powerful. But another supporter that could be coming that could be helpful is gonna be Hilda. So this card is allowing you to search for 1 evolution Pokemon and 1 energy card, then you get to reveal them and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. And it's great. It doesn't specify if it has to be a non-EX Pokemon. It can be. You can definitely go for an evolution EX, or you can go for a regular EX, and in this case specifically, we're going to be looking at like Baxcalibur, most likely, among other things, but really cool. And energy. Energy can just be water in this deck, but that is something. And so there is also, though, here is our list. Here's kind of what I've been working with too as well, using something like this, and it's been fun. Look at the return of the catcher. Oh man. And all these stadiums, and yeah, Secret Box with Petrel. The Secret Box Petrel combo is actually like great setup. At least you'll probably be gunning for that, or at least I do when I play the deck. When I play the deck, I want to go second so I can use the Secret Box or the TM Evolution and just get set up and going. But another thing that kind of disrupts that could go away might be the retreat cost awkwardness that we have to deal with sometimes. We have the air balloon returning. The air balloon says the retreat cost of the Pokemon this card's attached to is 2 colorless less. That is great across the board, I would say. Most decks, like, you gotta love free retreat. Free retreat is the best thing ever, It's so easy. The Chien Pao deck has so many hurdles sometimes with some of these Pokemon that are just very clunky, I have to say. Like, for example, our Frigibax. 70 HP Frigibax is kind of necessary in the meta because we have the big bad of Dragapult. So we have to maybe watch out for that by running 2 of the 70 HP and maybe 160 or just 3 like in here. But opening with it is awful because of that 2 retreat cost. Like, it really throws things off. You have to invest to move it, you can't easily navigate it, and like, it just messes with setup. especially, like, you know, and it's not just him, it's Iron Hands has a huge retreat cost. That Regigigas, you can imagine, has a huge retreat cost. Revavroom has a 2 retreat cost. Like, Chien Pao has a 2 retreat cost. And, like, pulling off a Ditto play, for example, like, you know, if you play this deck, you might understand that sometimes your resources are really stretched thin, like your energy, partly because you might have to navigate things. And so, if we're able to have a tool to make things a little bit easier, I am very happy to include that. So we're gonna see how that goes. I can't wait. We'll have a Chien Pao update later, but awesome, awesome. And Zoroark EX. So already, you know, and Zoroark EX can be used in decks as just a support for that great ability trade, allowing you to discard a card from your hand to use it, and once during your turn you may draw 2 cards. But Zoroark also has its own deck. It's this Ends Pokemon Zoroark EX deck, and as you can see, we have, you know, the other Ends Pokemon, Reshiram, Darmanitan, and so on and so on. So, one thing to note is going to be Hilda again. So Hilda again is allowing you to find evolution Pokemon and energy. And that's important because of the energy utilized here. We have dark energy and we have reversal energy. So decks may choose to run not just dark energy, but also reversal for these evolution-based attackers. Things could feel a little clunky at times, though. I mean, same deal with Chien Pao and stuff. You kind of have to really decide and know what you're going to sequence and choose and where to attach it, where it goes into play, as well as finding those pieces. And so Hilda can help with that. I can see it. So even just a little sneaky 2 Hilda is nice. Nice to see. Next up, oh boy, we got Slaking EX. He is another bit of a fringe deck who hasn't had that much success to break into the meta, let's say. He, though, was born to slack. Yeah, I love that. I love that name. He's got 340 HP. He's huge. He's a stage 2. His ability says if your opponent has no EX Pokemon or Pokemon of V in play, they can't attack. So that's a big pain. Although maybe not huge because a lot of decks have EX Pokemon, but still, we have the attack here. It's only attack being 280 damage, discarding an energy when you use it. Alright, well, as you can maybe imagine, this is why it has some hurdles to overcome in terms of being a top tier deck, and I'm not saying we'll get an update to make it a top tier deck, but maybe this will help it. So, what are we looking at? For 2 energy doing 280, and having to discard it when it attacks, Ignition Energy might help with this. And you can search it with Hilda, because Hilda does not specify a basic energy, it says just energy. You can find special ones too. Ignition Energy here says, if this card is attached to one of your Pokemon, discard it at the end of the turn. This card provides colorless energy while it's attached to a Pokemon. And if this card's attached to an evolution Pokemon, it provides 3 instead. Really nice. Because you'd have to discard an energy from Slaking, you have to, again, plan things out, make sure you're sequencing correctly to pull things off, and trying to consistently find the energy to pull off these moves and stuff. And Hilda can help, and thanks to that, maybe we can get more slots in the deck, because we can be putting our reliance less on some of the clunkier cards. And that can be significant, for sure. Slaking's ability requires an EX or V in play, and that's kind of a downside sometimes, because if your opponent can get rid of them, that is a significant slowdown for Slaking, and that's a clear counterplay to it. You know, predictable. Now, although Team Rocket's Watchtower already got released in Destined Rivals, it is seeing an uptick in the meta and stuff. It says, colorless Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponents have no abilities. You can consider that. This, in Slaking, can help a lot. Although it's a Destined Rivals card, it's just another example of maybe where you can put that space, what you can slot in to maybe make this deck a bit better. You can even see on here too, we have the Air Balloon, we have the Tool Scrapper that is coming too, that lets you just destroy tools off your opponent's Pokemon. You can see all this energy here. Although they are special energy, Hilda can still find them. It's good. So maybe we'll get a resurgence of that. I like seeing the fringe decks, and I like seeing if they can, you know, get some buffs and how it might work. So Ethan's Ho-Oh EX and some other guys. Some of these deck lists have been interesting. So Ho-Oh EX has the ability Golden Flame. Once during your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic fire energy cards from your hand to one of your benched Ethan's Pokemon. And then for 4 energy, Shining Feathers, 160, heal 50, Ho-Oh can reassign energy with its ability here. So this is going to be a dub for like multicolored attacker decks. Look at this deck right here. Look at this Cornerstone, Iron Hands, Water Pawn, Grass Future guy, Iron Leaves, Tsunokaina, Iron Hands, all this stuff. Interesting. And is this our replacement for Lumious Energy? Prism Energy here is coming. It provides colorless energy, but if this is attached to a basic Pokemon, it provides every type of energy, making this so much easier to get these attack costs met. So you can have a deck like Ho-Oh EX, or, you know, have our little cadet squad in here, and you can run your fire energy, and then just 4 prism energy, as well as there is 1 legacy energy here. And prism energy is a big win. It can definitely help with adding in tech Pokemon potentially as well in the future for the game, you know? So keep it in mind. Now, lastly, Gholdengo EX. Gholdengo EX is also popular, and it's gonna be seen. And I think you can probably imagine it also has huge buffs from our familiar friends Genesect EX and Air Balloon. So Genesect EX, of course, can help find your Gholdengo EX. It can find it easily. And Air Balloon, if you look up here, Gholdengo has a retreat cost of 2 right here as well, which, you know, it's not a detriment to, you know, get around, but like it's something where if you attach the air balloon and you utilize it, I can see the versatility and the power of that in making things just so much smoother. And again, if you're running Pokemon like the Gimmighoul, little ones that have 70 HP or like a retreat cost of 2, that's kind of what we talked about during Chien Pao, about how, you know, if you start with it, or if you have it moved around, like it can be clunky. I guess we need to update and make stuff less so. And although Gholdengo isn't known for, you know, swapping in and now the active to pull off its ability, that could maybe open up. It could be more common. You know what I mean? You get to, with coin bonus, you get to draw a card, but if it's in the active, you draw 1 more, and that could be something to consider in the back of your head if you're trying to sequence the best route during the play. You know, if you have the air balloon, you can consider that. Be like, do I want to move him up, get an extra card maybe? It could be helpful. It can help move things, but also check this out. I don't often see Scizor, Scyther as well included in the Gholdengo decks, but there are those variants that exist, and Scizor is a Metal Evolution Pokemon, so that means Genesect can also search it out too, which is really awesome to see. So hopefully that was helpful in going over some of the decks that we have already seen that might be getting some buffs, and it's very exciting. Like I said, I'm excited for the set, and it's gonna be cool to see. I want to hear from you though. I want to hear if you are playing these decks, if you're excited, if you have other cards that you think are gonna be super helpful and stuff. I would love to hear from you in general. But I also thank you very, very much for listening and watching. It means so much to me. I really hope to make more content for you guys, and hopefully make the game fun for people and explain a bit more of it and stuff to, you know, do that. Alright, I guess I shall hop off. Thank you again, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!